What's up guys, Rogue9 here. The hotly awaited Battlefield 5 reveal was yesterday night, and I think I can safely say that the general consensus at this point ranges somewhere from it was a bit of a flop, a bit of a letdown, to it was an absolute disaster. I find it such a shame that the reveal for a game that looks to be an outstanding entry in the Battlefield franchise was so underwhelming. And not just underwhelming, but maybe even a little bit misleading. So in this video, I want to go over the actual facts that we were told about the game. What are the positive developments for Battlefield, and what are my points of concern? Let's take a closer look. So despite the misleading, high-action, high-intensity Call of Duty-style trailer that featured a British paratrooper with a katana and a sniper lady with some kind of steampunk bionic claw arm, and despite the lackluster reveal event where Trevor Noah just spouted dad jokes all the time, I'm gonna say right now that I'm actually still pretty excited about Battlefield 5. Sadly, there wasn't an awful lot of really tangible information in the reveal, but the few things that they did share actually look really interesting. For instance, first and foremost, there is not going to be a premium pass for Battlefield 5. One of the greatest weaknesses of past Battlefield games was that the premium pass and the DLC packs split the community. There were times during the lifetime of Battlefield 1 where basically the only matches you could find were on the vanilla maps because there were so many people playing that just hadn't bothered to buy the premium pass. I personally thought that the premium pass was great value for money because, I mean, look at how much additional content, how many additional weapons, vehicles, and maps were added to Battlefield post-launch. It's an incredible amount of content, and I think it's only fair that the developers actually get to make some money from all that additional effort. Because think about this, if they can't make money from this additional stuff that they're making, there's no point in making it. So what if we'd just been given Battlefield 1 as it was at launch with no ongoing support whatsoever? It would have been a completely different experience. For games nowadays, having that ongoing support is incredibly important, and the only way that we as players can enjoy the results of these ongoing developments is if the people spending their time during the day making this stuff can go home and actually eat. So I do think that the premium pass was fair enough as a model, but I do understand that for many players this was just an additional cost that was just not worth it. And the result is that the community is split up, and sadly so much of the new content becomes almost unplayable after a relatively short while because so many players are just stuck playing the vanilla maps. This is going away for good, and I think that is great news. But the question then is, if all of this ongoing development with additional maps and weapons and vehicles is not going to be funded by premium passes and DLC packs, the question is, how are the developers going to get paid for their work? And I think the reveal trailer actually made that quite clear. Battlefield 5 is not actually going to be a Second World War Battlefield, it's going to be more of a fantasy Battlefield set during the Second World War, and there's going to be a ton of optional cosmetic DLC. Customizing the look of your weapons, your soldiers, your vehicles is going to be a huge part of this game, and I have to say, I personally would have really preferred a true-to-life World War II simulation, and I probably won't be spending a lot of money on cosmetic DLC, but if in return for having this silliness in the game we're going to get awesome long-term support making the game better and better as it grows, then I tell you what, I'm okay with it. It was kind of an unpleasant surprise to see that this would be a fantasy take on World War II, but at the end of the day, if the core Battlefield gameplay remains at the heart of this game, and if it gets all of the support that we've seen in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield games before then I will make that trade. I will get all this free support just so that some people can choose to buy optional cosmetics. It's fine. And now let's talk about some of the other developments for Battlefield 5. For instance, one thing that has me really interested and really excited is that we're going to get caliber-based bullet penetration. We've had levolution and building destruction in Battlefield for quite a while now, but even in the most recent Battlefield 1, where almost every building could be pretty much completely destroyed and even the ground could be dug up by high explosive charges, we still didn't have bullet penetration. And adding that in in alongside a far more detailed building destruction mechanic should make for some really interesting gameplay options. And that's not the only way in which you can actually mold the battlefield. Vehicles will have the ability to tow emplaced weapons, and while you're towing them, you can actually use them as well. In the trailer, we were shown a tank dragging a flak cannon while it was operational, and this could again make for some really cool moments. But of course, the main point of being able to move emplaced guns around the map is not really to drag them around and have cool moments, it's so that you can build your own fortified positions, and another game mechanic that is new that will help in this is the ability to build entrenchments. Something that didn't really come across during the reveal event was that you'll be able to build foxholes and trenches, you'll be able to refortify destroyed buildings or fortify gun emplacements. Being able to create your own hard points and choke points on the map could add even more strategic depth to battlefields than we're already used to. Being able to redesign the layout of the map as a defender in Rainbow Six is one of the things that makes this game awesome, and it looks as if DICE are trying to take that and implement it in Battlefield. As a fan of both game franchises, I'm really interested to see how this will work out. There are a whole bunch of minor changes in the way that Battlefield works that also weren't discussed during the reveal. For instance, pretty much every soldier class can now do everything. Like, any soldier can build fortifications, although the engineers will be able to construct them faster and will also have access to more options. The same goes for reviving squad mates. Any soldier can revive, but of course medics will be able to revive quicker and will revive with more health. New movement mechanics and the ability to throw back grenades or shoot them out of the sky to combat explosive spam are also going to be added to the game and can only improve the experience. So really, mechanically, what we're getting is a Battlefield game that has more depth and a higher skill ceiling, and that's only just the multiplayer side. The War Stories single-player mode that was such a great surprise to be included in Battlefield 1 is coming back, and in addition to that, we're also going to get a co-op mode. Now, not a lot has been revealed about this mode, but from the way it was presented, it looks like the intention here is to have replayable cooperative missions where the squad will have flexibility in terms of how they want to approach the mission, and they may even try to extract early if things aren't going well. I have to assume at this point that there will also be loot drops involved in this, and depending on how far you can get in each mission, you can get different kinds of rewards, so the more risk you take, the further you try to push, the greater the rewards you can gain. So a mode that allows players to practice together as a squad and cooperate so that they can practice and learn the skills that will help them be better in multiplayer is another potentially great addition to the game. So an awful lot of great news about Battlefield 5, although I have to say there are also a few things that kind of concern me. The World War II setting is kind of a bit of a worry because it's such a politically charged topic. The thing about any war that a lot of the media refuse to cover is that there is never really a good side and a bad side, and this even goes for World War II, because the fact is that every major participant in the war committed what by today's standards would be massive war crimes. The monodimensional, almost propaganda-style approach that Sledgehammer Games took to Call of Duty World War II's story was a huge failure in my opinion, and I really hope that DICE and EA can stay away from this kind of pro-war fairy tale style of history. Maybe the fact that this is going to be a fantasy reimagining of World War II is actually a good thing. In my opinion, politics and propaganda do not belong in entertainment media, and I would be so disappointed if the War Stories chose to take this kind of path. Another thing that slightly worries me is the amount of emphasis that is put on customization of weapons and vehicles. Yes, the developers went out of their way to make sure that we know that this game is not going to be pay to win. But for me, the problem with Battlefront 2 wasn't just the fact that you could buy these upgrades to make your ships and your weapons stronger. The problem was that these upgrades were included in the first place. I don't care if you can buy these upgrades or if you earn them by grinding. The thing is, if someone buys Battlefield 5 in October and plays a few months, and then someone else gets it as their Christmas present and joins in, the person who's been playing for longer automatically already has an advantage. That person knows all the maps, knows the weapons, knows the gadgets and the vehicles, everything. The worst thing you can do is make the game even less accessible to new players by giving the existing players ways to upgrade their weapons and be stronger. So having the possibility of developing and advancing your characters and vehicles is great, as long as we're talking about side grades. There need to be advantages and disadvantages. For instance, if you modify your MG42 to have a faster fire rate, then they need to lower the damage or the accuracy or increase the bullet spread. Everything needs to remain balanced, in my opinion. Not being able to buy gameplay advantages is a great first step, but for me it's important that you can't earn advantages either. And last but not least, my greatest concern for Battlefield 5 is probably a mechanic that they're trying to copy from Call of Duty. In Battlefield 5, squad leaders will have the ability to call in what DICE calls devastating reinforcements, such as the V1 rocket. These reinforcements can be unlocked by earning squad points, and to me it sounds an awful lot like the kill streak rewards from Call of Duty. Rewarding skilled players by allowing them to unlock devastating reinforcements sounds great at first, but here's my problem. With any multiplayer game, balancing the teams is always a challenge, especially when you're dealing with large teams such as on Battlefield. And the thing we see in Battlefield 1 over and over again is once one team starts getting the upper hand, the game will become even more unbalanced because players on the losing team will simply quit or will try to switch over. And this is where gameplay rewards such as kill streak rewards or devastating reinforcements make the balancing even more difficult. If you have a squad that's already doing well and then you reward them with extra powerful weapons, you're creating even more of an imbalance. I don't like this mechanic in any game, and I think it's going to be challenging to implement well in Battlefield also. I wish DICE and EA all the best in attempting to implement this mechanic, and I hope they manage to do so, but at this stage I'm still going to be a little skeptical. But that is really my number one concern. This has been such an odd experience. The Battlefield reveal was such a flop. It was so cringeworthy. The jokes were flat, the information was lacking, the trailer was all action, no substance, but at the end of the day, the little nuggets of information that we have been given do make me really excited for this game. At this stage, I'm going to try and keep an open mind, and I'm really looking forward to the first gameplay reveal that we will be seeing from EA Play soon. For me, the multiplayer still looks really interesting. Yes, there's going to be horrible cosmetics, but I'll put up with that if in return we all get access to all of the free DLC going forward. In addition to that, the war stories in Battlefield 1 were really well done, and I'm looking forward to those as well, plus there's going to be a co-op mode. What are your thoughts on the Battlefield reveal? Do you think it helped the game, or do you think it's harmed it? And what are your thoughts on the new mechanics that are going to be introduced? Leave your comments in the comments section below. And with that, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next episode.